So a pleasure to be with you all and to share goal mapping with you. It's something that I've been teaching for a little more than 20 years now. The system has reached around 3.5 million people around the world. It's in lots of different languages. It's used by lots of different organizations. In particular, I've worked mostly with salespeople, teaching them how to use both goal mapping and the positive thinking strategies that as principles empowered goal mapping. And here's some of the ongoing clients: Siemens, Disney, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, etc. I'm about to re-engage again with British Telecom. British Telecom alone have probably sent maybe 15,000 people onto the goal mapping workshop over the last 14 years that I've been presenting the system there for them. And in addition, we also have children using goal mapping in state education. This is a Swedish group of children. There are in fact 12 different countries that have goal mapping within their schools, and more than 1 million students from primary all the way up to university and into MBA graduate programs have used goal mapping. And in addition, sports people. This is Katalin Konya. She's the current lady world champion kickboxer 2 years in a row. And in fact, she likes the system so much, and she accredits it with her success, that she has now become a certified trainer of the system. And there are 1,100, just over 1,100 certified trainers and practitioners of the goal mapping system around the world. All of it is a long way from my roots. I was born into a travelling family. This is my grandfather, grandmother, with my dad and my uncle and my aunt sat on the steps of their travelling wagon. And on both sides of my family, I'm related to circus. And my family would travel with the fun fair mainly around the London area. This is a picture of my father's fun fair, and they got flooded. I think they were at Weymouth at the time. And he decided to do what a lot of the fun fair people were doing at the time, and that was to take all of the amusements that he had to the seaside, and he opened them up on the pier on the south side of the Isle of Wight, on a little place called Ventnor, which was a big tourist resort. And he was very successful right from the very first summer season, the year I was born. But he missed the travelling life, and so I grew up having several homes each year. I would have one on the Isle of Wight for 4 months while we opened up for the summer season. I'd have one travelling around with the fun fairs for 4 months, and then we had another home which was our winter base by Heathrow Airport, where we would park the fun fair equipment for the cold weather months, and then the pattern would repeat again. So every year, 3 different homes, 3 different sets of friends, and always 2 or more different schools each year, and no school while we were travelling with the fairs. And so my education was very limited. I have dyslexia, so I struggled with learning to read and write and the more academic side of life. And I never actually sat any exams because of the timings when we moved. I often missed them, or the teachers thought it was unnecessary. And then, like a lot of fun fair children at that time, I dropped out of school at 13. Because the belief in the travelling fun fairs at that time was that if you can read and write a little, it's enough. Come and learn about the business, because it's a self-employed existence. And so I started working full-time for my father with the amusements that we had at 13, and never went to school after that. And what little ability I had to read and write quickly faded. And by the time I was 18, my ability to read and write was so low that I couldn't even complete filling out a form or a checkbook, because I couldn't spell even very simple words. But I was determined to do something with my life. I was inspired by my father. He was also illiterate, but quite business-wise. And at 19, I took the family business in a new direction. I became the youngest person ever to be granted an entertainment and alcohol license. And I opened a disco in 1981 at the tender age of 19, and actually become really successful really young. I had a lot of celebrities coming to the club, and we were in all the music magazines at the time, and yeah, it was a big success and made a lot of money and had a lot of fun, and I was in that business and life for 13 years, but at the end of 13 years everything changed because tourism really died on the Isle of Wight and people started going to the Mediterranean for their holidays instead in the late 80s and early 90s. We expanded a little too fast, opening up another venue, and the recession came, and the combination of all those factors like a perfect storm, the family business came to an end. And so at age 29 I found myself in a dire situation where I'd lost my income, the family business had gone bust, my home had been repossessed, my wife run off with another guy, I ended up £1 million in debt with no qualifications and not able to read and write properly. And it was actually at that low point that probably the greatest thing for me ever happened, and that was that I took a position as a salesperson. It wasn't something I really wanted to do or wasn't even sure I could do it. I got offered a position and it was commission only, direct sales, and I was scared, but I knew I needed to do something, and it seemed like one of the things that was open to me to do that I didn't need a lot of qualifications for. And I wasn't very good at it first, but it became the turning point in my life because it introduced me to the concepts of positive thinking and self-improvement. And the first thing that I really learned is that when you think you can, and when you think you can't, you can't. And it's an old saying, but what helped me was understanding the science that sits behind it. And the very first workshop I went to with the sales team that had been put on to boost performance, the trainer there helped me to understand that we all have a lot of brain cells. It's estimated we have 100 billion brain cells. And each one of our brain cells or neurons grows a little tail, which is called an axon, that's in blue there. And then arms or branches, which are called dendrites, and they're in pink. And that when you have a thought, it starts as an electrical impulse in the middle of the brain cell, and it spreads out along the arms, and it wants to connect with another arm and build up a train or a pattern of thought. But there's a little gap that separates all of the arms. It's called the synaptic gap. Now here's the key point. If your thought is positive, if you think a positive thought about yourself, about your life, about your ability to go and do a great presentation to someone, about being successful. If you think a positive thought, the positive impulse travels along the brain cell arms and it stimulates a neuroreceptor in your brain to release a chemical called serotonin. And serotonin is the chemical that gives you the feeling of happiness and well-being. It's also the chemical that helps to join the brain cells together. It's a neuroconductor, and that allows your thought to continue on its journey, and in that way you build up these positive connections that help you to find answers to problems, see more effective strategies, a better way forward, and as you join more and more connections, you build belief in yourself. If, however, you start to think negatively about yourself, about your life, about the situation you face, then the negative thought triggers the release of a different chemical into your brain called cortisone. And cortisone is the chemical that gives you the feeling of sadness and depression. It's not really a negative thing. It happens for a positive reason. It's part of your fight or flight response. Throughout evolution, it's helped to protect humankind, that if we were in danger, our brain would release cortisone. The cortisone would make us take more care, but the cortisone is also a chemical messenger. It tells your digestion to switch down, it closes off your lymph and immune system, and it shuts down whole areas of your brain so that your brain becomes tunnel focused just on the thing that you fear, and all the energy that's saved is sent to your muscles along with adrenaline so that you can fight or flight and survive the danger. And it's worked very well when the danger is a big grizzly bear that wants to eat us for lunch. But when the danger is us worrying about hitting our sales target, it really doesn't support us at all, because our brain responds in the way that there is real danger, and when we release the cortisone, It causes us to be anxious and nervous, and that isn't effective, obviously, when we are in a position of wanting to communicate well with people and find effective solutions. And so the more that we are able to have a positive thought, not just about our future, but about the challenges that we face, so we form more and more brain cell connections that helps us in turn to find the answers to the problems and find the motivation to take the idea, take a brave step forward and do something with it. Setting a goal helps to maintain the brain cell connection, because brain cells that fire together wire together. And so if you repeat the goal to yourself every day, gradually you form the connections and the connections become established, and once the brain cell connections are established, that's when they start to then form beliefs. And so the first goal that I set was to learn to read, and I just told myself every day, I can read, I can read, I can read, I can read, and gradually as I formed more and more connections, it helped me to be, one, motivated to really make an effort, and two, the brain cell connections seemed to compensate for the learning problems I had, and gradually the words come into focus. Within a year I could read well, within 18 months I'd learned to speed read, and the thing that I wanted to read most was more information about self-improvement, positive thinking, and in particular goal setting. And the more goals that I set, the more successful I become in all the areas of my life, but particularly within my sales performance. It rose from the lowest in the team to the highest. Lots of other people wanted to know what I was doing to make the difference, and I was increasingly invited to make presentations, and gradually I made the switch from going out and selling into training, and then was offered an opportunity to become a trainer with Tony Robbins in London in 1993, and in 1994 I started teaching a program for another American trainer called Stephen Covey, and it was a program called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But the question that was always in my mind was, why are we not teaching this simple brain science and effective goal setting to our children in school as standard? Because it has to be the master skill. Learning how to set and achieve goals is the one skill that helps you to gain all other skills and abilities. And yet it isn't taught as standard. And so the more I thought about that, the more the question was coming to my mind, what is the very best way to set goals? Because there's a right way and a wrong way. So what is the very best way? What's essential? And one night, driving my car late through London, I had a flash of insight and a realization that if we are going to set goals in an effective way, we must use both sides of our brain. We must use both our logical left brain as well as our creative right brain. The right brain is like the leadership brain. It looks forwards with imagination. It's free-flowing and passionate. The left brain is like the management brain. It learns lessons from the past. It's logical and it's linear, and it's the side of the brain that we use for planning. And we need to use both the visionary part of the brain looking forward of where we want to go, and the planning part of the brain about how we're going to do it. And these two halves of the brain working together are accessed through a combination of words and pictures, because the right brain thinks primarily in pictures and the left brain thinks primarily through words. And my realization was, if we're going to set goals in an effective way, we need to use a combination of both words and pictures to activate both sides of the brain. And it was this thought that led to the flash of insight that is goal mapping. And so here we have a goal map. It's always created using words and pictures to activate both sides of the brain. In the middle is the main goal, and then either side are sub or secondary goals. At the top of the map are the reasons why you want the goals. Then you have a timeline of a start date and an achievement date. And then the green boxes moving up the right-hand side are the actions of how you will achieve the goal, and opposite them on the left-hand side moving up are the who, the people that will be involved in helping to achieve the goal. And so it's made from these 7 steps. Step 1, dream. Right brain, what do you want to achieve? Step 2, now use your left brain to work out what is the priority. There may be many things, but we need a central focus. Step 3, draw. Create some images that help you to see the connections between the goals, and it's the images that help to activate the right side of your brain. Step 4, why? What are your strongest motivating reasons for achieving the goal? And step 5, when? When do you want to achieve it? Because without a date, it's not really a goal, it's just a wish. Step 6, how? What actions will you need to take? And step 7, who? Whose help will be required? Is it just you, or are there significant others? As you go through these 7 steps using the goal mapping templates, it helps you to create your map. And here's one of mine that I've been working with for some time, and my big goal is to reach 7 million people. That's in the center there, and on either side of the areas where goal mapping is helping people. So in their career, in their education, health and fitness, well-being, and with the family as well. And so I write books, I run regular events and seminars, and there are now more than 1,000 people around the world, a lot of them working within sales and sales training companies that are now licensed to teach goal mapping, and the spread of it escalates. The books are in 15 languages. And I use this simple analogy on an international basis to help people understand why goal setting is important. If you imagine that whatever you do in life is like a bicycle you're riding and it represents your ability, the back wheel of the bicycle represents your more technical knowledge and harder skills. The front wheel, because we can steer, is really the softer skills. It's about getting along with people, communication skills. But of course it is us that get up every day and pedal the bicycle, and some days we pedal hard and some days we don't feel like it and we coast a little. What makes the difference between the days we pedal hard and the days that we do not? It really comes down to 3 core qualities: drive or motivation, being able to hold a positive attitude, and working with a feeling of confidence. Mentally and emotionally, we are all very much like a bicycle. If we are not moving towards something in our life, we lose our balance and fall over. And so having an aim, a direction, a goal, and a purpose for our life generally, and for the important areas of our life, like our career, to have goals that are specific, I believe is essential, because life's path is always changing, and sometimes we hit a bumpy patch, and it's in those difficult times when we really need to have a clear focus about where we want to go, what we want to do, who we want to be, and very importantly, why, to help us pull through. Goal mapping is designed to do just that, and power really comes not from hearing me talk about it, but from doing it yourself, because it's in creating your own map that you will activate both sides of your brain and send a powerful command to your subconscious autopilot to move you towards the achievement of the things that you desire. So here are the 7 steps again, just in visual format, and at the end of these I'll show you the website address where you can download the templates. Step 1, have a little dream, think about the future and what you want to achieve, and just note it down in a list. Then, using one of the goal mapping templates in step 2, start to order your goals by identifying the main goal, and then the other goals can go either side as their sub-goals. And so here's the map filled out, and then step 3, to start drawing. And you use the second template, and whatever you've written in the boxes, you just create simple pictures. It doesn't need to be a work of art. It can just be simple symbols, but as long as you are using imagery so that you're activating your right brain and the words are activating your left. Then identify your 3 strongest motivating reasons, and as before, create some images at the top of your map that represent your reasons why. The quickest step is always when. It's just about choosing an achievement date, and at the bottom box writing in the start date. Again, that goes on both maps, and it creates the timeline for step 6, how. What are the 3 most important actions you will need to take in order to move you along a path towards the achievement of your main goal? All of the goals may have different dates and different actions, but if you just stay focused on the main goal for both the date and the actions, and put the action that you believe comes first in the bottom box, with other actions moving up in sequence towards the achievement of your main goal. And there might be repeating actions like arranging time off, or signing on to learn a new skill, gain a qualification, or maybe saving on a regular basis for an investment. As before, the combination of words and pictures helps to activate both sides of the brain and bring you to the final step, number 7, who. Who's going to be involved? Is it just you? Are there significant others? And you put the name of the person who's going to help opposite the action or help that you need. And that gives you your completed map. And in the process of doing it, it helps to activate your brain and make those connections. And then afterwards, you can add more detail if you want. You can take any aspect, like the first step, take another template, and put that first step as the main goal and break down to another level of detail. And often I'm working with an entire sales department in a big organization, and we will start with the head of the department and the senior team, and they will create a map about the targets within the department, and then we go down to the managers and all the way down to individual salespeople, and have that throughout the entire sales department. The ritual to goal mapping is that once you've created your map, to then look at it on a regular basis. First of all, sign it, because your signature adds more power. It's like you making a commitment. And then see it and say it once every day. Pin it up somewhere where you will see it, preferably early in the morning. But if it's a work map, maybe you want to have it where you're going to see it later in the day. But looking at it once a day and saying the goals to yourself reinforces that brain cell connection, builds the belief, and sends an even stronger message to the subconscious that you're going to achieve it. Likewise, sharing it with other people, certainly anyone you work with within your team, and maybe your manager, of course. Here are the website addresses then. Goalmapping.com will take you to the main website, and there are free templates and materials. Or you might want to use the free software, which is at goalmappingonline.com. And it's free to use. Just sign up, create an account, and then you can create a goal map using the software and the image library. This is a goal map from the Microsoft top team. In fact, everyone within the sales department in Microsoft went through goal mapping, and they created both personal goal maps as well as work-focused goal maps. And in addition, all of the teams had their team maps, which went up around the station. This is a goal map from me, and it's one I did some years ago now for the release of the goal mapping book. And gradually the book is being translated into more and more languages. I'm just about to go to Finland, where it's been translated into Finnish, and there's a book launch coming up next weekend. If you extend out the detail of your map, the how, it becomes a to-do list. And my goal map sits in my folder next to my to-do list. I'm always writing down lots of things, and it sits right next door, and I find it works well for both then the right brain and also the left brain. If you want to use the online system, this is what it looks like inside. Instead of drawing, there's an image library. You can upload your own images, create your map, and then of course you can do a lot of things with it online that are hard to do on paper, so sharing it, planning into more detail, and we also have training material in the Success Center. The essence is very simple, and before we open up for questions, I'll just leave you with the essence of the program, which is that if you think your best thoughts, it triggers the chemical release in your brain of serotonin that helps you to feel your best feelings. And it's the combination of these two things that will lead you into taking your best actions. And all of that helps you to live your best life, achieve your best results. Goal mapping simply helps you to stay focused on your best thoughts rather than falling into the trap of thinking your worst. So I really hope that served you. If you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer them. And, are you back on the line, Natasha?
I'm right here, Brian. Thank you so much. Just before we go on to our questions, I just wanted to remind everyone that our next webinar is a members-only webinar, and it's taking place next Thursday, in 2 weeks, on the 17th of September. If you aren't currently a member, you can find out more about our member benefits by visiting ismm.co.uk/membership. And also a quick reminder that BESMA nominations are now open, and if you want to find out more on how to nominate, you can visit our BESMA section of the website. And now we're ready for our questions. We've already had a few. The first one, Brian, is do you have to limit yourself to 3 boxes for now? I think for now, yep.
No, no, you're not limited to 3 boxes. It's just that's the way that I structured it for giving to people on an A4 piece of paper. If you're drawing it out yourself and you're just doing it freehand, you can have as many as you wish.
Brilliant.
It's important to keep the essence as much as possible, because if you have too many, then I think you can have too much detail sometimes. So part of the benefit with goal mapping is that it gives you the essence of what you want to achieve and why and when and how and all of that on one page, really.
Okay. What's the difference between goal mapping and mind mapping?
Well, both goal mapping and mind mapping use words and pictures to help to activate more of the brain, but mind mapping is focused on both remembering information, making notes, but also for generating new ideas, whereas goal mapping is just focused entirely on helping people to achieve their targets and objectives.
Okay. Brian, I first heard you at the ISMM seminar in 1999. This is from Stephen.
Okay.
How have you seen goal mapping change since then?
I think probably the main thing that's changed since then are the number of applications that people have found for it. Because with so many people now teaching it around the world, there are lots of people that use it in lots and lots of different ways. And that's the main thing that's changed. The content of the material hasn't really changed at all. It's the same 7 steps, and it's the same principles of empowerment and brain activation that are behind the program. But the application that people have found for it is really quite amazing, and there are more goal mapping products now, video, audio, online, etc. So I think it's more accessible for people, and again, people using it in lots of different ways.
Okay, we have another one. What's the best way of using goal mapping in sales?
I think it's to create a goal map of the salesperson exceeding their target, not just achieving it, but going over target, and to have that in their folder or in their case, and to be really looking at it not just every day, but before appointments and things like that, and then to add more detail to it and to use it as a working tool. That's how I very much use it, because although I'm not employed as a salesperson, I'm still involved in sales, of course. It's part of my business activity, and I find the map really helps me to hold a positive picture of the success I want, all of which puts me in a good place before going in front of a client.
Okay, I've got one more. Why are not more people consciously setting goals?
I think people just don't realise that they should. people don't know how, or they think it's just something you do for a work target or a sports person will do. But the reality is, all of us are in some way setting goals all of the time. We do it with every decision that we make, but we just don't realize that's what we're doing very often. And it's having a technique like goal mapping that helps people, one, to get really clear about what they do want, and then two, to make sure that they're focused on it and can move towards it.
Brilliant. I think that's it for now. Oh, okay, someone's lost the sound. It should be back now. We have got no more questions for now. Oh, cool. One more, sorry. Oh, one more. Would you agree people generally lack belief in achieving goals, and that's what stops them from setting them? This one's from Michael.
Yes, very often, and that's why when I'm teaching this, I'm spending a lot of time helping people to develop their belief. And the map does that as well, because the more you see yourself achieving the thing you want to achieve, the more that you come to believe it. But it's the reason why a lot of people don't set goals, for sure.
I think that's it for now. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for attending today's webinar, and thank you so much, Brian, for being our host today.
It was a pleasure. Nice to be with you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye.